Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the local music of Raleigh. Today we're interviewing Steve Baker from Deep South Entertainment, and we're going to be talking to him today about his experience with the company, and of course, the company itself, and its place in the local Raleigh music scene. Thanks for listening.
And how did you get involved with Deep South, and how long have you been working here?
I did not seek employment here. It was kind of a flattering and unusual way to end up with a job, because my interactions with Deep South previous to me working for the company was as just a musician. My bands in various forms had been hired by them for years, usually for like really special projects that there was nobody else that could kind of fit the need that they had. So anytime that they had an unusual pigeonhole, so to speak, that they needed to slide some sort of musical presentation into, they would call me, because typically I have the types of musicians in my band who can adapt to almost anything. I was never getting normal gig requests from them. And so we ended up doing that quite a bit over the years. And even one time faking a parade, we stood on a float and pretended like we were playing in a float, and just faking it in the rain, downtown Raleigh, for I think it was Raleigh Wide Open years and years ago. So they called me into this office right here, and usually when they called me is because they wanted me to do something weird with my band. So that's what I was expecting. But I thought, man, this must really be weird, because it's going to be all three of them, and they want me to come there instead of just telling me over the phone. This is going to be a bizarre show, And what ended up happening is they were wanting to launch a new division of the company that specialized in doing bookings for private events, corporate events, weddings, those types of things, street festivals that they weren't involved in, like the Alive After 5 type of things. And kind of politely turned them down. It wasn't really a turn down so much as saying to them, well, these are the other obligations that I have right now, which means I can't come on full time with Deep South. They asked me what parameters I'd be willing to work with them. I kind of laid out a scenario whereby I could. It was not full time. It was only about 20 hours a week, 4 days a week, that kind of thing. And so they called me back a couple days later and said, hey, we love you. We're going to continue to hire you bands and everything, but we're going to go a different route because we need a full-time agent. 3 weeks later, they called me back and said, okay, we'll do it your way. And that was the punchline. And that was about 6 years ago.
The next question was, what does your position entail? But
kind of. I'll clarify it a little bit. Basically, any of the business that comes through here specifically looking for that special event kind of thing. There's a little bit of blurred lines, because Dave has friends that will call him directly. Amy has friends that will call her directly for things. But my job is to try to create those opportunities that wouldn't normally come through here just by normal relationships that the company has or the company founders have. So my job is to go out and find the brides, to find the corporate, HR departments that are hiring for their holiday gig or their whatever, or to find the street party people that are wanting to do, like municipalities. We've done a lot of that for whether it's Fayetteville or Clayton or whatever, or shopping centers that are looking for those types of bands for their Wednesday night and Thursday night music things and that sort of thing. So that's kind of my job, is to go find those, not only those opportunities, but then find the bands and artists that will fit those opportunities.
So you host an open mic night at the bar. Tell us about that and what.
Yeah, I don't personally host it. The company does. Deep South Entertainment, DSE Music Group, owns Deep South, the bar, down the corner of Dawson and Cabarrus. And Our little open mic, which is every Tuesday, I think has now been voted by the Indie Magazine as the best open mic for 6 straight years now. I think, so that's great. And the only, not that there's not some really good open mics, they're very different. Sometimes they're like, a lot of open mics are just open blues or jazz jams, and they call them open mics, that kind of thing. Ours is really more focused on songwriters. We really want songwriters to come out and show us their stuff, and so we kind of have built a culture of that. And a lot of that has to do with the types of prizes that we offer. It's not to say that there aren't bands that come out, because there are duos and ensembles and that sort of thing that have come out on the open mic. But primarily we're focused on that singer-songwriter kind of thing with our open mic. And I think and we've had as far as the hosting of the open mics, we've had 3 or 4 different hosts over the years that typically commit to an entire year. And then we'll have a weekly and nightly winner, and then we have a monthly, winner, and then we have, at the end of the year we kind of have a big, playoff kind of thing where we announce our winner for the year. And they get some recording time from us. Then we will promote the single through our distribution network that we have with Deep South, and help whoever wins get a little exposure that way.
Can you talk a little bit about what made you guys want to start a bar at Deep South?
Well, I'll tell you what. I will put a disclaimer on this. I would rather Dave answer that question, but having sat through a million staff meetings where we talk about things going on at the bar, I can tell you this, is that the company itself, Dave especially, very plugged in with the local political scene. Great friends with the council and the mayors and current mayor as well. As a result of the relationships that we have and the participation in a lot of city projects, because we've done a lot of the events, the downtown events for the city of Raleigh. Because of that, Dave's insight into what's going on in terms of the long-term planning of the city gave him kind of advance awareness that the amphitheater was coming. So a couple of years before the amphitheater was even open, he acquired that little corner spot right there, which of course is catty corner from the back of the stage of Red Hat Amphitheater, knowing that the spillover would, benefit. And again, there's more to it than just that. It is, in fact, a great place for us to showcase up-and-coming talent, because we manage artists too, and promote and book, and so we're able to use that little facility as a showcase for that. It's a great place for us to hold events and parties for our own business. So we have our own little spot. We don't have to go hire. We don't have to go rent a place. When we, like for instance, our Christmas party that we will hold this year, will be open. We'll do not only one for the public, but we'll do one for all of our our event sponsors and the local politicians and the big shots in town and with the state, that sort of thing. So we'll be able to hold that at our place, and so there's a lot of benefit to having that not only those things, but the fact that, dear Lord, we get to hear a lot of incredible talent that sometimes piques our own ears, and we go, oh, we need to be working with them in some capacity. And we've met and seen and heard a lot of talent just out of that bar that we've ultimately started doing a lot of shows or other types of business relationships with. Yeah, so it's like its own little petri dish of musical stuff going on.
And then one last question about the bar. You guys have a big wall. It's just filled with all kinds of quotes.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
I don't know who did, because that was already there before my time. I've been with the company for about, as I said, almost 6 years now, and the bar itself is about 8 years old. So it was there for a couple of years before I was involved, and the quotes were already up there. But about once a year we go in and we'll we'll paint over a bunch of them and invite new people to come in. I mean, the whole idea is that it is kind of a dive rock club, but it's owned by a music company, an actual entertainment company, and so the whole interior theme is in keeping with that idea. It's not just a bar, and it's not just a music club. It's a music club that's actually owned by a entertainment company that has been a record company, distribution company, management company that's managed everybody from Bruce Hornsby to currently Parmalee. So kind of conveys that it's a little something different than the average dive bar. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So what do you think is Deep South's place in the Raleigh music scene, and like how important it is, and how, like, I guess how it operates in that sort of system?
Deep South's place has become recently pretty dang significant. I mean, it's had a place for 20 years, ever since the first hit, out of here, which was Marcy Playground's Sex and Candy. That was kind of what put Deep South on the map 20 years ago. What's happened though, and the company has evolved even more so in my time here. It's virtually no longer a record company, virtually no longer, there's still a distribution mechanism where we distribute music through here, but more than anything else, it's become a full-service entertainment event, music entertainment and event company, but still holding on to, as I said, some of the management and business management things that we do with certain clients. But locally, it's just amazing. Like, for instance, this Saturday, the North Carolina Wine Festival is going to be right here, Moore Square and City Market, and there will be thousands, assuming the weather holds out, because there are thousands and thousands of pre-sales already, so people are going to still show up. Thousands of people are going to be there. Well, what no one will know, because there'll be no signage to it whatsoever, is that the entire musical side of the proposition, including all of the fencing and all of the barricades and everything else, that all happened out of here, just because of our relationship with the sponsoring radio station that puts that event on. The weekly series during the summer, the Oak City 7, and then the Pickin' in the Plaza, the Bluegrass series, those, even though it doesn't have our name on them, they're our events. We do those events, and we do them free. It doesn't cost the city anything. We actually raise the sponsorship dollars so that those events can be put on completely without taxpayer dollars. Yeah, which is why, again, the city loves, and again, in full disclosure, I'm completely not responsible for that. That was happening long before I was here, because there used to be a series in Moore Square Park called Downtown Live, and that was, again, Deep South put that event on, and it was, bands from Night Ranger to, Joan Jett, to all kinds of acts that, people know, mostly classic rock stuff that they did, and thousands of people would come to those events. They were totally free. And people couldn't believe that we were doing those events for free. So, Dave and Amy and Andy came up with the ideas of raising sponsorship monies for corporate sponsorships and putting those events on. Brought millions of dollars worth of revenue into the local businesses over the years, and it's continuing that theme with Oak City 7 and some of the other things that we do. Consequently, doing those things for free and not costing the city anything, and instead actually generating money for the city, really endeared the company to the city, and why we have such a good relationship with Raleigh now. One of the publications recently, in a national publication, just recently ranked the top 10 music cities in America other than Nashville, and we were second. It was Austin, then Raleigh. Did y'all see that? Or we of course we got a lot of hype out of that ourselves. We were really, really proud of that, because it's certainly not all because of Deep South, but 20 years Deep South has been seeding this. Just think 20 years ago, Raleigh was an afterthought as a live music town. It was all about Chapel Hill. Yeah, it was all about Chapel Hill. Chapel Hill was the next Seattle, and blah blah. That was the focus was Chapel Hill, and then it slowly started. Something started happening here, and there, make no mistake about it. There's a lot of things still happening over in Chapel Hill and Carrboro and Durham, but Raleigh has really captured that live music. And particularly, nobody ever thought that Raleigh would be the original music capital of the Triangle. That nobody ever thought that would happen. It pretty much was a given that Chapel Hill was going to retain that. But that's not the case, and a lot of that transition has to do with the work that we've done over here by presenting those acts in. Like for instance, we'd bring in those Downtown Live. We would bring in those national headliners, but you'd have 4 or 5 or 6 opening acts, all from the local scene, playing right down there in front of thousands of people, and then of course that fed the Poorhouse and Tiernanog and the other clubs in the downtown area. Really fed their businesses as well.
Possibly one more question would be like where you see Deep South in, I guess, like 5-10 years. Kind of like the direction that you guys are going.
It probably would be inappropriate for me to mention stuff that we've even talked about in recent staff meetings about, because we do a lot of vision. We do a lot of. It's one thing about working for a creative company is we have a lot of creative minds here, and we love getting in here and we call our 4:00 Tuesday staff meeting. It's somewhere after 5, or it's at 5:00 somewhere rather 5:00 somewhere. And we have it at 4:00 on Tuesday, and being a music company, we drink, and so scratch that, edit, but no, you don't have to. We're proud of it. We own a bar, for God's sake. So and so that's what we do. We test out what we're going to be, the new offerings for the bar. And then we get to talk about ideas about what works. We don't just talk about what we're doing. We analyze what everybody. We're not the only entertainment company in town. There's a couple of great labels, as here in this area, and we don't by any means think that we're the say all and end all to the music scene here in Raleigh or the Triangle by any means. But we do spend a lot of time analyzing what other people who are putting on events and doing things in the music business here in our own backyard. But we also look at what they're doing in Nashville and Austin. So if we're number 3, what do we need to do to become number 2, and so forth and so on. So I will tell you that as far as the future of the company is concerned, we're looking to see what those other 2 cities are doing really, really well, and trying to adapt to that. You don't want to necessarily mimic them or recreate them, because there's some cultural differences. Nashville's only a 9-hour drive away, but there's still some cultural differences, and of course they have the great advantage of being Music City, USA. It is, and that's nobody's going to dethrone them from that, not in our lifetimes anyway. And Austin certainly has a gigantic jump on us because of the creation of the South by Southwest, festival there. So, like I said, without getting into specifics, where's the company going to be? I think we're finding that we do a few things really, really. We've tried everything over the years. When I say we, the company, whether I've been involved in it or not, the company has been everything from a record label to a record distribution company, to artist management, business management. And business, the difference between artist management and business management is very simple. Artist management, simply explained, is you manage the personal career and the daily life. It's glorified babysitting, quite frankly, of a musician. And then business management is handling their business, their books. You become essentially their accountant. And so those are 2 separate types of management services, and we do both of them out of here. And I think there will be some more of that for sure. surprisingly, the company's gone from being, pretty progressive rock company to having success in the country music industry. So much so now that Dave spends about half his time in Nashville now, even having purchased a place there because he's spending so much time there. He's there now. He was there last night for the CMA Awards, so with Parmalee and a couple other of our acts. So it's become a with the transitions that the music industry is going through anyway since the digital revolution, it's kind of it's still kind of the wild, wild west. So we don't really know, where it's all going to play out. Plus, even live music has shifted so much. More and more and more and more people are expecting things for free, and there's more and more free events. And you have to figure out a way to make a living in the music business doing that. So we're finding the areas that we're good at, just like our success that we talked about before this tape was rolling, about the state fair. That was a big home run for the company. It was a grand accident. We were positioned to take advantage of it because of what we've been doing for the last 20 years. We were very well positioned to get to that contract, and we did. And then, frankly, the staff knocked it out of the park. I had a very, very small part of that myself, but the guys who spent the most time on it really did an incredible job and really impressed the Department of Agriculture. And I could say with a lot of confidence, I think we'll be doing it again and probably for a long time. Usually when we land a big deal like that, we keep it. We've had the governor's inaugural ball for several years in a row now. Of course, it's only every 4 years, but we've done the last several of those, and we'll be doing the next one as well. It doesn't matter whether they're Democrats or Republicans. We get it because the relationship is with somebody else, not with the political parties themselves. So, but generally, the company, when it lands something like that, it ends up being a really good and long-term relationship, and a lot of that has to do with not just the quality of the work the company does, but the personalities involved. I mean, Dave and Amy are absolutely incredible at building relationships and keeping them.
So your business model, as you've been talking about, is always just very innovative. You're always trying to see and experiment with the next thing. How have you had to kind of adapt because of the digital era of the music scene?
We talk about it a lot, and even recently we've talked about how it's still the wild, wild west. You think about companies like Spotify stopped paying their artists here for a while because they just didn't have enough money to pay them, and you think, my gosh, you got millions and millions of songs and hundreds of thousands of artists probably whose songs are on there, and just bazillions of plays, streams, and they still haven't figured out how to make money at it yet. Apple, just launched theirs, and then it finally went into the free, the 90-day free trial thing just ended, and I got my first bill, just the other day from Apple for my, $10 a month, and they, only have a fraction of the numbers right now that Spotify or Pandora have, but so how are they going to be any different? How are they going to make any money? How are the artists going to make any money? Nobody really knows how that's going to pan out yet. At the end of the day, this is what I know about music, because I've been in music since I was a kid, and that's like for years, and so what I know is this: there's always going to be somebody who is desperate to write a song and is desperate for somebody to appreciate the song they wrote. Okay, that's not going to go away. There's always going to be somebody that wants to appreciate that music and wants to lose themselves for an hour or two or whatever in either a pair of headphones or in a concert situation to forget about life for a while and let music take them on that journey away from, the treadmill of life. The third thing that there's always going to be is there's always going to be somebody who wants to make money off of putting those two relationships together. All right. And that's just the way of the world. Always has been, always will be. Doesn't matter if it's music or it's bread. Somebody's going to make money connecting the producer to the consumer of the product. And what the music industry has been going through for the last 20 years is a paradigm shift in what that connecting entity looks like. And they're still trying to figure it out.
Still early.
Yeah, yeah. In the grand scheme of things, it is still early. Usually, things pan out and they figure it out a lot quicker. It's not to say nobody's making money in this business, because they certainly are. But what the artists have learned is that they've got to make money out on the road. They got to sell tickets. That hasn't gone away yet, but it's being threatened by all the free music. And not to say that we haven't been a part of that as well. We're going out and getting sponsorships and doing concerts downtown with bands that people might have gone to Red Hat and paid $40 for. They go to our version of the same exact show with the same exact act, and they get to hear it for free. Well, that starts rewiring the consumer, doesn't it? The expectation. We still made money off of it because we did it through corporate sponsorships, beer money, beer sales, those types of things. But the connecting entity, the paradigm there is what had changed from a traditional promoter who's just selling hard tickets. And now it's changed at the state fair. It's always been, they had a little ticket price, $10, $15 to get into Dorton Arena and hear those shows. Well, this year, all the shows are free. And so we seem to be always in the middle of those free things, but making them work and creating the relationships that make that work, so that the artist is still getting access to the people that want to appreciate that art, but frankly, without that somebody or that something in the middle, those two things don't usually happen very well together. And eventually we'll figure it out. Don't know yet. It's like I said, as long as digital is still as easily accessed for free as it is through pirate sources and that sort of thing, it makes it very, very, very difficult for the artist to even have an expectation of making money from the sales of their music. They've got to figure out how to do it elsewhere, which means they got to hit the road. My favorite acts from the 70s and 80s or whatever, they're back out touring hard again, trying to, because they're just not getting the residual royalties that they enjoyed for even years and years and years after their hits were no longer on the charts. They were still being played on radio and other sources, and they were still getting these nice royalty checks. And all of a sudden now, not so much. And so it's a little different. So they're all back out on the road again, touring. Yeah. And so I don't think anybody knows exactly where it's all headed to right now, but I think where we're most comfortable right now is what we keep getting back to, is we do great organization and presentation of live music, and we do great business management for a lot of clients. And so one great thing about musicians is the really good ones are so right-brained they can't balance their own checkbooks, so they need us. and so there's always a need for somebody to balance their checkbook. And that's just the way it works. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm my little hole in the wall here is not doesn't represent the full scope of what Deep South Entertainment is and DSE Music Group as a whole, but I do sit in enough staff meetings. I kind of have a good idea what's going on. So I hope you can use it.
Thanks very much.